welcome back to our YouTube channel, Jay and
Zia.
We haven't been uploading in a while. It's been like about 2 weeks, right? Yeah. So we just want to apologize for not uploading consistently. We've both been busy, working, going to school, and just had a lot of things we had to deal with, a lot of business we had to handle.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to be more consistent. So we're definitely from here on out going to try to implement more time throughout our household to make videos for you guys. So, yeah.
All right, so you guys, as many of you may know, we went on our 1-year anniversary trip to the Bahamas, and we had a great time. If you have not seen that video, go back and you can watch that. It was pretty amazing. So we wanted to come to you guys and talk to you guys about what our first year of marriage was like.
Yeah, and pretty much this whole video would just be about what she talked about, our first year in marriage. We're just going to talk about the main things that we dealt with and how we overcame them, and then we're also going to include what we learned from our first year in marriage. Yeah. So we definitely think this could be beneficial to people like millennials or even older people, possibly, who desire to be married in the future, or individuals or couples who just got married. So knowing that, we've been married for a year, we've learned a lot of different things. So we want to share this wisdom with you guys.
Yeah, but no way, shape, or form we are counselors or anything like that. We're just giving you guys advice from what we've been through. So everybody's situation is different. We don't want you to go and say, well, you guys did it this way, so it should be done the exact same way. No, every marriage is different. So this is what we've experienced our first year of marriage. Okay. So the first thing we want to talk to you guys about our first year of marriage that we kind of struggled with was...
Not kind of.
That we did struggle with
right.
was communication. So, I'm going to tell my side first. So, in the beginning, when we first got married, what? In the beginning, when we first got married, we were not living together. He was staying on college campus, and I was just staying at home with my parents and Zyria. So, that was hard. Very, very hard, because I'm like, you need to be here, because this baby keep waking up all types of hours, and I just need some help. Now, my parents, they were helping me, but I didn't want my parents doing everything. I wanted to take ownership, which was my ownership, and just be responsible for my child. So, with that being said, we were not communicating good at all. We were texting each other, really. So the text messages were being interpreted way wrong. He might say something encouraging, and I'm like, no, be quiet, shut up, you don't understand. That's how I would respond, because I'm like, no. I
guess that's the thing when sending messages over text messages or online via social media, because you may assume how the person is saying it. Like, for example, K, the letter just K. That can mean a lot of different things to different people. You send that to me, I'm like, you K?
Yes, he always was offensive when I said
you
K.
K me?
I'm busy with a baby. I can't send out these letters.
But she didn't mean it like that. She literally meant okay. So that's another thing. As humans, we often assume the emotion behind what they're sending.
Yeah.
So that definitely was a part of our communication that caused a lot of different problems.
Yeah.
Just misunderstanding. Started a whole argument.
And then another thing was, before he stayed on campus, we talked about it, but we really didn't talk about it. Okay, we didn't have anything set, you're going to be here this day, I'm going to get you this day, whatever. It was just he had practice in football, which is one of the main reasons while he was on campus. It wasn't just because he just wanted to be on campus, let me tell you guys that. It wasn't because he just wanted to be there. It was because it was easier, because he would have to be there extra early. So I'm just well, he's just being selfish. This is what I'm thinking to myself. He's just being selfish. He wants to make it easy for him. He gets to sleep. I'm not getting no sleep. So he can come back out here, and he can wake up at 3 a.m. to get on the train to go to practice. And because I'm waking up at 12, 12:30, 2 a.m. So I'm like, if I'm not sleeping, you're not sleeping either. So that's how I felt. Like, I just felt like he wasn't on the same boat as me. Like, he just did not understand me. And that's because, in a way, I probably didn't express it all the way like how I am now. And when whatever he, I don't know how he really felt. I know he didn't like the fact of being away. But I just felt like he was living a life while I was
Yeah, just my side of the story. Like, I stayed at the dorms because it was way more convenient as far as football, because I already had to wake up at like 5 something to be on the bus, to get ready to get on the bus. So commuting from where she lives, I would have to wake up even earlier than that, earlier than 5 o'clock, you know, make it to the train, then take the train downtown, then make the bus, and do all that every day until, you know, school starts. It was just a lot of complications. So I'm like, you know, I just want to stay at the dorms. I definitely did want to be there, but I was just tired at doing a lot of things like responsibilities. It was like you really got to pick one, and I was trying to do both. You know, and as you know, right now, I didn't play football my senior season, so I decided to stop that, get ahead with school, so I could graduate early and be with my family. So I came to that conclusion. And I tried to tell her, like, that's always how I felt. I just had to set things up, because, I mean, I already had things set for me to stay in the dorm, so, like, as in paid. So I'm like, why would I move out when I already paid for it? It's just, like, wasting money. So that was another reason why. Like, yeah, but I guess now she understands that.
Yeah, now I understand it.
So you can see why communication is so important in our marriage, and that's something we definitely dealt with. Another thing about communication is what happened to us. It causes us to draw assumptions. And when you draw assumptions, you're not going off facts, you're going off what you're assuming. So that caused a lot of problems. That caused problems for us, because you see how she told you how she felt, what she thought, how I felt while I was doing what I did. That was assuming. We didn't have the proper communication. And not only just that situation as far as the dorms, you know, even when we did live together, just little things, letting each other know our schedule, you know, stuff like that. That could cause a lot of conflicts. So communication is very important, because it causes assumptions, which can range from little things to big things. So that could be anywhere from, for example, emotions, just how we feel about each other, our fears, our stresses, what's going on with this. Like, not communicating how we feel exactly. So if she's going through something, if I'm doing something that may offend her, or if I'm lacking in support, or not complimenting her, or making her feel loved, and she don't communicate with that with me, I'm not going to necessarily always know, you know. Sometimes I feel like I pay attention to things. Sometimes I do slack. But I could tell something wrong, but if I do ask if something's wrong, you say nothing.
Man.
That's lack of communication.
Yeah.
And she's done it, and I've done it. We both done it, and that has caused problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not knowing exactly where we stand, how we feeling. But I mean, we obviously love each other, but we could all always be going through something. You know, how we feel. We could be feeling lonely. You could be with somebody and still feel lonely. You know, so communication is definitely important. This even ties to the next thing we dealt with, which is pride. Because communication, like she said, we texted each other. When we would get into arguments, we would not necessarily want to, sometimes we would confront each other. But later on, we might not want to talk to each other. So we just text each other. Like, if I have to tell her something, mm-hmm. or she has to tell me something, we'll text each other. It's pride, because you don't want to
physically say it out your mouth, basically. You
don't want to be selfless and get over how you feeling, mm-hmm. for the other person. So instead, it's like you're drawing back to like indirect conversations. You're texting, you're saying this and that, or saying sorry over text, you know, stuff like that, rather than being humble and talking face to face. I'm sorry, or let's talk this out. So that's definitely something we dealt with. And yeah, to the next point, pride. Pride is something really dangerous, because it could destroy a marriage. In a marriage, you have to be selfless. You know, that's another difference between boyfriend and girlfriend and a marriage. Like, you have to be wholly selfish fully selfish. I mean, unselfish, not selfish. You can't be selfish with things. You know, some people may think that, but we don't, believe that's so. You know, you have to be selfless towards one another. Because it's not about just Jermaine anymore. It's about me and Zyria. So when I do things, when I think about things, when I think about how I spend my money, how I spend my time, I have to think about the both of us. I can't think about, oh, if I do this, how's this going to benefit me? No, I have to think about how it's going to benefit the Ghost Moves. Being in marriage really just helped us develop our character, because we have to get over that pride. It's not just us anymore. We're together, and it's marriage. So brought together by God. We honor God. We set our vows. So we got to be together, That's something that is really, really important. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is vulnerability. Being vulnerable in our marriage, because that's also important too. And that's something we definitely dealt with. I could say. Being vulnerable is what you need to progress in a marriage, because not being vulnerable, in other words, being open with your spouse, it shows that you have walls set up. Now in a marriage, like I said, it's not about you anymore. You have to be selfless. It's about her. It's about us as a whole. So how can you progress and how can you learn about somebody if you're not being vulnerable? If you're not trusting them, if you're scared to open up. That's the thing about marriage. You're fully opening up yourself. And I ain't gonna say it takes overnight, because it definitely doesn't. Some people do. Some people been through things that created trust issues. So they have walls built up. And in a marriage, you gotta break them walls down. You have to come to an understanding, like, this is a forever thing. You're my soulmate, So we have to be able to trust each other. I had a problem with being vulnerable towards her when she asked me about how I felt and just little things, because throughout my life, I wasn't I ain't gonna say emotional. We're all emotional creatures, but I wasn't good at expressing myself. Like, I just felt like as a man, like, you're not supposed to show your emotions. You're supposed to just, act tough, or you're supposed to keep it. You're not supposed to tell those things. But I realized, not saying anything, like, all that stuff built up inside of me. So when I decided to talk about it, or when I felt like I needed somebody to talk to, like, it just all came out terribly. So I had to learn to be vulnerable with her and just be honest. Like, tell her about my fears, tell her about past mistakes, things that I worry about, things that I desire, even my goals. Be vulnerable with your spouse. And that's something we worked on. That's something she's worked on. And we, it's a constant growth. We're not going to say we're perfect because we're not. But it's something, it all starts off with just recognizing the conflict, recognizing the problem. So we recognize it, and now we're implementing steps to get better, And now we see the goal, we see where we want to be, and we're working towards it. We're being more open with each other, trying to make it a habit of talking about my goals, talking about how I feel. And the more you do it, the more I did it, the more comfortable I got. So it's not like how I used to be, as in I hold back, or I give her short answers like, how are you doing? Oh, fine. Instead of, how are you doing? Man, I'm doing all right, but I feel A, B, C, and D. Going into details, going into depth, learning about the individual, because a marriage is learning. It's about learning every year. I'm pretty sure even older couples, who watch this video can even say this, that you will always learn something new about your partner that you never knew. So in order for that, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be open to being learned about, So she's learning more about me. I'm learning more about her. And as a result, it's helping us be better spouses for each other. Learning tendencies, learning what she likes and what she doesn't like, as far as the things I do or other things. So being vulnerable is something that we dealt with and that we have pretty much overcame, but things happen. So we always try to work on it. So that's another big thing that I would definitely emphasize, vulnerability.
Yeah, and then on top of that vulnerability, another thing that we did have to work on, well, I know I had to work on, was like how I said things and like what I said. Like when you
As far as communication.
yeah, like if you, as far as communication, and like you have to be vulnerable with like knowing that you can't affect how somebody feels once you say something. So like I would say something off out of like anger or something, and it would just be like rude and like almost like disrespectful in a way that like, okay, I shouldn't have talked to him that way, I shouldn't have said it that way, or I shouldn't have said it at all. Like in the moment you can be upset, but you have to learn how to like, I had to learn how to like step away for a second, calm down, and think about how in the end it's gonna make him feel. And afterwards he would tell me like, you shouldn't have said that, or I don't like the way you talk to me, and I'll still be like, I could talk to you however I want to talk to you. Because you can't control me. But in a way, like, I couldn't say that. Like, I mean, he doesn't control me, but it's like, you have to be mindful of what you say and stuff. Just be mindful overall.
This all just ties back into one of the earlier points that we made earlier, just pride. Just being selfless. Nobody's used to a marriage, you know. Some people are better than others, but you have to be accustomed to it because you really are being selfless, you know. Not saying, you know, she's perfect. She's not perfect. But sometimes she will say things out of anger and out of emotions that I know she didn't mean. But I'm like, why would you... Like, for me, I don't know. Maybe I have to. But I feel like certain things I just don't say because even if I'm mad, I'm just not going to say it. I just don't. But that was definitely something she had to work on. Just being mindful of the things she said. Even if she knows she didn't mean it, she probably just was mad at the moment, you know. We all have done it once or whatever. But just being mindful of the other person and honestly respecting your spouse, you know, not degrading them, especially as a man. Pride, I ain't gonna say pride, but I guess you could call it pride, but men have has a sense of dignity. We have a sense of dignity, you know, a standard, you know, morals. We have an identity of how a man's supposed to be, of how a man's supposed to be talked to. So when your wife, who supports the man, who supports the husband, talks down on you or disrespects you, not saying she done it, but just as an example. If she talks down on you or disrespects you, then as a man, you feel like, what? Like, you talk to me like that? Like, it do kind of hurt. It takes a toll on your ego, I guess you'd say. It hits you like, man. It make you think twice about things, like, especially if you think you got a certain way, like, yeah, I do this, I run this, or, you know. I definitely have to get used to that. When you get in a marriage, it's not like that at all. It doesn't supposed to be like that. The man doesn't supposed to run the wife. He's supposed to lead the wife and, you know, if they got kids, the family, that he's supposed to lead, but he doesn't supposed to act like a dictator. They're supposed to run it together while she supports him. So I had to learn that I can't always be bossy or do this, do that, because I was definitely like that. I like control. I had to self-evaluate myself, and I realized I just like control, and I had to fix it. How I manage things and how I told her to do stuff and asked her to do stuff. Instead of telling her to do stuff or do that, I asked her, can you please do this for me? You know, so it really is how you say things. And you have to keep in mind the spouse's feeling. And, you know, I have to keep in mind how she feels as a woman, how she carries herself. So I can't disrespect her. I have to uplift her. And
I have to uplift him as well.
Yeah. So that's definitely a big point in the marriage, you know. You definitely want to be uplifting. And this goes to what I was going to talk about anyways. I'll transition. Uplifting your spouse, you know. This is what we've learned. You know, we talked about the things we've been through and that we overcame. And now we're talking about, you know, also things that we have learned. So I've learned that you have to uplift your spouse because a woman, I'm going to talk about everybody needs to be uplifted. But I'm going to just talk about what I've learned as a husband. Uplifting a woman or my wife. A wife is like a flower. You know, if you don't nourish the flower, if you don't give it the nutrients it needs, if it doesn't get sunlight, if it doesn't get food, if it doesn't get water, it's not going to blossom. And it's the same way with your wife, you know, or women just in general. You have to feed them the nutrients. You have to nourish them. You have to make them feel valued. So In other words, the food, the water, and the sunlight they need could be compliments. It could be telling her you love her. It could be doing little things. You have to learn your wife's love language. That could be through gifts. It could be verbally. It could be through touch if she like being held. You know, it's a lot of different things. So you have to learn that, and you have to just constantly uplift her. I love you, or you're a great wife. You're a beautiful wife. You're the best ever. Just stuff like that, because words really do matter. And if your wife loves gifts, you know, give her gifts. Surprise her. Give her flowers, you know, instead of just waiting for a special day. You know, just make it a habit of doing something, or surprising her, or taking her out to eat, you know. Even if you don't got money, if you're on a budget, write a card. Write her a poem.
He writes the best cards.
Write her a letter. You know, be fancy. You even if you don't got no money, have money. It's a lot of creative things you can do to really show your wife you appreciate her. Because I learned that women, well, my wife, she likes gifts and she likes things, but she cares more about the thought behind it. So you definitely have to uplift your wife. And even personally, like times like, I like to joke. We both like to joke. We joke all the time. And I do be joking with her all the time. Like, I ain't gonna say we talk about each other, but it's like a fun, it's like just something we do. We laugh. Like, we could do that in our relationship. But when you do it during the time where they're going through something, it could just rub off on her. So I know there was a time where I was joking with her all the time, just consistently doing what I usually do, but it was just rubbing her off differently. Like, and I started to notice how she, like her aroma, like how her presence, just how she carried herself. Like, she didn't feel confident at all. She probably didn't, I'm assuming she didn't feel love, but she didn't feel confident. You can tell when a woman doesn't have a husband who supports her, who doesn't constantly lift her and build her up, because women who have a man that supports her, you know, supports her dreams and build her up and compliments her, lets her feel valued and feel loved, that woman is confident. You can tell, like, oh, you happy, like you must got a great man. So that's something I had to learn, like, man, like, let me stop joking so much. Let me give her compliments. And I noticed, like, I consider myself a romantic guy and a sweet guy, but sometimes we can forget the value of those things because we do them so often. So I'll do something for her. She's like, oh, you doing this? I'm like, yeah, this is what I do. Like, I never done it before, and then I realized, like, oh, like, it got to the point to where it's like, man, like, it is a surprise. She's not used to it, and I felt like that was bad. So I was like, I got to make it a habit to compliment her. Like, I think she's the most beautiful woman in the world. But it's another thing to tell your wife that, to let her know, like, she's the most beautiful. You know, even if you do feel it, even if you do love her, when you say I love you, it's just a whole different thing. Like, for me, like, even her with me, you know, and it helps because I went through a time where, I guess you could tie this to, like, insecurity. Everybody's insecure, has been insecure about something. And for me, I guess, I ain't gonna say it was my body. I guess you could say it was my body, because me, naturally, like, I'm slim, naturally, but I play sports all my life. So I've been at least in shape, you know, or cut, but I haven't been, like, big. You know, it was a time I was bigger. I was way bigger than what I was, but for me, I'm a hard gainer, you know, just by DNA. Naturally, it's hard for me to gain, so I have to constantly eat, and I have to constantly work out. Now, if I don't constantly work out, I lose muscle, like, it's ridiculous. So, you know, sometimes I'm like, man, I look in the mirror like, man, I got to get in the gym. Like, you know what I'm saying? I have an image that I want myself to look like, you know, like a certain build that I want myself to look like, you know. And she just, I don't know if she noticed it, but I assume she does, but she just uplift me. She'll, like, rub my arms, like, oh, you swole, big. Look at them abs, you know what I'm saying? And she probably didn't know, but that really, like, that boosted my confidence a lot. It's like, man, I may not have been hitting the gym like I needed to. I may have been slacking, but at least she thinks I look good. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter what anybody else thinks. If she think I look good, I'm good. You know, I'm going to still hit the gym. You know, I still got goals, but as long as my wife think I look good, that's the only thing that matters. So it definitely does matter when you verbally say stuff to your spouse, because even if you don't know it, like, it really does help. It does. All those things are very, very important. And just to add upon that, while you uplift your spouse, it's good to remember that, I guess you could tie this with being selfless as well. You got to make sure that you're supporting your spouse's dreams. Joe, where'd she come from? So we edited the video, but we had to get our daughter. So now she in the car too while we're doing this. But hey, come on. So you cannot overshadow your spouse's dreams with your dreams. It's good to support her dreams, and it's good to support my dreams. You got to always make sure that you're doing that. And you got to make sure you're being supportive and that you're open to hearing their dreams and goals. So if she want to do something, don't just push it off like, oh, okay. You know, you got to support her. Say, yeah, okay, we could do this. And you got to help implement steps so you can help achieve her goal.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, so from like the female's point of view, if your husband is like not feeling like supported or anything like that, then he's not going to feel good about things because he wants to be able to support. Well, he should want to be able to support. And if you are just always negative, it's really about like how you are. So as a woman, you want to uplift your husband and always stay positive. There's things we went through where I just have to continue to uplift him as we finish school and everything like that. And as we start looking for real full-time jobs, I just have to continue to like uplift him because first of all, you don't want him just going anywhere to find a job because you want what's best for your family. And second of all, you don't want him to go somewhere else even looking to be cherished by another female or another woman. So that's like the best thing to do. And then as a woman myself, I mean, who doesn't like feeling they're on top of the world? Like you want your husband to uplift you and just feel love, because once you stop feeling love, then you may start to feel insecure yourself, like you're doing something wrong, even though you may not be.
That's definitely true, like 100% true. So this leads to our last topic, which is staying rooted in God. So our relationship is based on God, you know, rooted in the principles of the Bible on how marriage should be, as well as getting advice, you know, from sermons and, you know, our mentor, our prophet that helps our marriage, that counsels us. And even, you know, going to church every Sunday and watching Apostle Stevenson give his sermons and how him and his wife conduct themselves and the advice they give out on Periscope and marriage talks that they might do for the couples in the church. So our marriage is based on the foundations of the principles in the Bible, and I think that's definitely really important. You know, I'm not gonna say it's something we necessarily learn, but it's something that girl, come on. It's something that we learn how important it is. We knew it was important, but we learned like how important it is to keep your relationship rooted in God, because the devil doesn't like marriage, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think about our generation is something that we definitely have to help vocalize that it's okay to be married. You know, it's not. Young. It may seem scary. Yeah. You know, our generation is afraid of commitment. They're afraid of being married. They're afraid to be tied up to somebody to say, "Oh, this is my wife." You know. I'm hers forever. They're afraid of that. You know, they're scared. They think it's going to go wrong. Yeah. You know, and that's okay. You know, everybody think those thoughts at times, but marriage is definitely, it's work, but the benefits and just the things you can accomplish with the soulmate, you know, striving for your purpose and why God created you is just, man, it's amazing. So it's good to be rooted in God for many reasons. It's definitely important for a husband as the head of the household to be rooted in God, because the man, I'll break this down. The man has to break it down as in why it's important that we as a couple, you know, as an individual, as a husband and a wife, and as a couple, why we need to stay rooted in God in a relationship. It's important for a man to stay rooted in God because he is the head of the household. So I have a daughter and I have a wife. You know, even if I didn't have a daughter, I'm still the head of the household. You know, we're a household. And I have a daughter, so I'm still the head. So I have to lead them into the direction of where God wants us to be. Now, how can a husband know where God wants the family to go if he doesn't have a relationship with God? So that's where my prayer life has to come in. And as you may know, we don't fight against flesh, people who may have some wisdom upon this, but, there's a spiritual realm, and we fight against spirits, There are spiritually things that try to attack marriage. The devil hates marriage. He loves division. He loves individuality, because it's a lot of things that you can't get done without, depending on your calling, without a spouse, I'm not going to say everybody, but it's, some people have a purpose to get married, and I definitely believe that's one of my purposes, to get married, because it's a lot of things that we are called to do as a couple, for our generation. So it's good for the husband to have a relationship with God, because he has to know where God wants the household to go, and we got to be close to the voice. I say it's really important to even have a prayer life for God, because God helps a man. He helps him be a husband, and he helps him be a father. And women are, I say, they're infinity. They're beyond. It's so much. A man cannot love a woman fully how she needs to be loved by himself. So he needs God to help do that. I can't love her fully. I'm incapable of doing it by myself. So God created her. So I need his help to help love her fully. He knows every detail about her. He knows how he created her. He knows her likes and dislikes. He knows everything about her. So I have to go to the main source of whom created her, so I can know how to manage her, so I can know how to deal with her, and how I can be a better man. And as well for my daughter, her interests and what God wants me to do with her. Does he want me to put her in sports? Does he want me to put her in dance, or this and that? I have to raise her the right way, so she can be the woman of God that God called her to be. Even at a young age. So that's really important for a husband, as well as other things such as having a relationship with God and praying, so you can cover your family with prayer. Prayer is important. I think a lot of people miss that, and a lot of people don't understand that. But you have to cover your wife in prayer. You have to cover your daughter in prayer, because as the head of the household, you're like a watchman. You're like the guard. You're like the security. So it's like, as a man, if you're not on your P's and Q's, if you're not praying, if you're not with God, then the devil sees that. And as the head of the household, if the leader is slacking, then that leaves the troops, pretty much the household, behind. My wife and my daughter, that leaves them vulnerable to the attack of the enemy mentally, and it could be physically. So, anybody who's been in the church knows this, even been a husband, they know that, and I'm sure they experience it. If your prayer life has been dull, if you have messed up your relationship with God, if you backslidden, then I can guarantee you it's been problems in your household, and that's facts. I dealt with it myself. I've always had a relationship with God, but I'm not perfect. So it's been times where I slept. I've been busy, and man, my prayer life kind of went downhill. I started reading, and I started praying. But God is always listening. God knows, and as I grow in responsibility, I have to ask God for grace so I can manage everything that is going on with my wife and my daughter, with school, jobs, internships, all that stuff, and still balance relationship with God, still praying, still incorporated time, So that's another thing. And for a wife, she has to have a relationship with God, because she has to support the husband.
Yep, definitely.
The husband is to lead, and the wife is to support. And as a unit, they work together, And God blesses the wife with wisdom too, to support the husband. Because, man, we don't know everything, but I know that God definitely used her, when I was lost with certain things, that she'll say stuff on point. Like, I was just thinking about that, and she'll come up with it. So I know God gives the wife, wisdom to talk to the husband. So as a husband, that's another reason I have to humble myself. And another reason why you have to be selfless. You have to be open to hear what your wife has to say. Because, man, we are not always right about everything. Women are more wiser than we think they are. So they pay attention to a lot of things. They see a lot of things. They hear a lot of things. So we definitely have to pay attention to that as well. So that's why it's important for women to be close to God, to make sure that she has peace with herself. Because when a wife is not at peace, it could cause a catastrophe. Because if the wife is not at peace, then she can't necessarily, she can't support the husband because she's not at peace. There's something going wrong with it. And if she can't support the husband, then the husband can't properly lead. He can't properly lead because he doesn't have the support that he needs.
Yeah.
So it all works together as one on why you should be rooted in God. And even just other things such as, I'll say this.
Just a relationship in general.
Yeah, relationship in general. Before we were married, we had a relationship with God. Now, you can have a relationship with God and still be sinning, so we're not going to act like we're perfect. I know a lot of people may act like they do, but no, we're not perfect, you know. We messed up a lot, but we both had a relationship with God, and we obviously put ourselves in positions to where we sin, but, you know, it's not the end of the world. So we learn from our mistakes. But, yeah, so we been new. It's important to have a relationship with God, and as we got married, we just learned how, like, it's really that much important to have a relationship with God.
Yeah, but then I want to add on to that as well, though. Having a relationship with God individually, too, by yourself. So that's building yourself and being able to develop yourself with who you are and with God, like, knowing, like, your purpose. Like, as a woman, sometimes we struggle with knowing what our purpose is, especially like while married, because you wanna support your husband, yes, but you also want to support him and still have a prayer life for yourself. So I know I've been trying to really, being a mom and being a wife and everything like that, I've been trying to develop my prayer life way more. Like, I find every little moment that I have, I can pray here, but you just want to really develop your prayer life by yourself. But another thing that we do is every night before we go to sleep, when Zyria's asleep, we make sure that we pray together. Praying together has really helped our relationship because, I mean, God sees the unity and how much that we really appreciate one another and how much we love one another, and that we are taking the little time that we may have, even though God deserves more time than the time that we may think we have. We take that time and we come together. Aside from our separate prayer time, we come together and we pray together. Just in case there might be a moment that where we may need to say something to one another, or I need him to pray for me for something, or he need me to pray for him for something. But it just shows you every night. It shows us every night where we are at the end of the day, because we're going to sleep. We're not mad at each other, but we're going to sleep with prayer on our hearts and God on our hearts.
Yeah, definitely. Individuality, your individual prayer time is definitely important because as you develop as an individual with God, you bring that to the marriage. So as a man of God and as a woman of God, as we take our time to develop and grow, that just helps us even more when we come together and we can build upon that. So it's definitely important to implement these principles in your household. And we definitely want to reach out to like people our age and even younger to let them know like this stuff is serious. Like, you know, a lot of people don't know about spirits or maybe not even believe in that stuff, but that stuff is real, like for real. You know, we've experienced a lot of crazy stuff even besides our marriage, even before I knew her, like the supernatural things. You know, prayer is real, the devil's real, God is real. All that stuff is real and it's serious. And it's important to have a prayer life, because if you don't have a prayer life, like, you don't have nothing necessarily, how can I say, like, holding you up necessarily. Yeah.
Nothing supporting you. Nothing to know.
I ain't gonna say it's not nothing important to you, but
supporting.
Oh yeah, supporting.
Like nothing that, like, you're really not hearing from God, because prayer and reading your Bible is when you can really hear from God, because you're silencing yourself.
Yeah, prayer is your prayer time. Is you coming out of your heart. You talking with God. If you ain't never talking with God, you know, then who you talking? Then like who's feeding you? Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is a really broad topic, but I want to stay on topic. I don't want to go off into other things.
Talk about marriage.
But I'll say this. Maybe for viewers who may not have experience with like the supernatural as far as church, I said me and her are very prophetic. So me and her have dreams that have came to pass. So basically, God will show us things. God will show us things before they happen. You know, I've had a dream I was in this house with her when I was little, and it just came to pass like last month. And it's like annoying when it comes to pass. It's like, whoa, I had this when I was little. I had dreams where I was in places like years before it even happened, and then once it comes to pass, and God sometimes, depending on the dream, He will do that to protect you. Like I've had dreams where things were supposed to happen. Like I had a feeling, like during that time when it happened, it brought me back to the dream, and the same events were playing. But I did something different, and the events didn't go the same way that it did in the dream. So God will show you these things so sometimes you can prevent them from happening. So stuff like that. But the reason I say we are very prophetic is because it played the part in our marriage, and even before we were married in our relationship. Like when we were doing things we weren't supposed to do. So we weren't married, but say I was talking to somebody else. She would have a dream, and the same with me or her, that we was texting somebody else or talking to somebody else. Or it's a feeling or a knowing. Like, that's why it's important to have God, because God could like warn you, hey, watch out for that, or watch out. He can help warn you so you can guard your wife. You know, are you doing this? Are you doing that? So this is even before we were married. I have dreams, and I have a knowing. And I'll say what happened for her with me instead of me saying, you know. So for her, I was texting somebody I was supposed to be texting before we were married. This is like earlier in our stage, and like the first year we dated. And I was texting somebody I wasn't supposed to be texting, and you know, I guess she was having dreams, and she just started asking me, so have you been texting anybody? And she pretty much hit it right on point. And that's just like one example, and the same thing happened with me vice versa with her. So, you know, that's another reason why I know we were meant to be. Like God definitely helped us with each other, like watch out for each other. Like this has happened multiple times to where it's like you can't really get away with nothing, because God will He will tell on us to each other. So He will tell on me to her, vice versa to her with me. So it's a lot of things we definitely didn't get away with because of God just revealing it to us, and we confronted each other about it. And just a minute, like, yeah, you're right. Like, so that just shows how serious it is to have God in your life. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up. We could honestly go on all day. But I definitely hope you guys like this. I hope we're authentic. You know, we want to be real. We don't want to just reach a certain target market. We want to reach everybody. We want to be honest with you. Like, this stuff is real. This stuff is serious. And this is how we as a family balance our marriage. And, you know, we made 1 year, and now we're on year 2. You know, things are getting better for our household, and we just thank everybody for praying for us, everybody who's supporting us, who support our channel. You know, we thank our family and our friends for supporting us, who's been there with us from the beginning to end. We appreciate all that support because it's definitely helpful. And I just want to start something called a prayer challenge, to where you comment below. Apart from me to stop coughing. But you comment below. Or you can subscribe if you have subscribed. If you subscribe, I think we can see you on the email. Just comment below if you can. Comment below about, it's called the prayer challenge. So comment below about what you need prayer for. No, you don't even got to comment what you need prayer for. Just comment.
Or you can, if you don't feel like you want to put it on our video, you can inbox us on social media.
Inbox us on social media. This guy cute. So you can inbox us on social media. You can or comment below on our YouTube channel. You can just comment your name or say I need it, or say pray for me. Or, you know, whatever it is. It could be an exclamation mark. It could be a heart. I don't know.
Anything.
But just comment, and we will pray for you. Whoever it is, it don't matter. You know, God will lead us on what we need to pray for regarding you. And we just ask that you pray for us as well, for our household. Pray for our well-being. Pray for our voice, that God uses us as a household to reach other people. And, you know, because the enemy like to shut things down. So I know people try to discourage us or do this and that. But it's good to stay unified. That's why we're being unified and staying strong I was also going to touch upon that, so I'm going to touch upon that real quick. Being unified and being strong because you can get things done. Now, another thing, what I was going to say about being unified and being strong is that like I said earlier, the devil really doesn't like that. He likes division. And I got a revelation while we went on our cruise on why me and her need to work together instead of individually. So we were on the way. We drove to Florida. We just got a new car. So, you know, fresh on miles. We had like 2 miles when we first got it. It's brand new. So we were definitely blessed with that. So we just decided to drive. It was cheaper. It was like a road trip. Like we just want to enjoy the road trip, you know. Got to hotels, got to see different places. But after the cruise, on the way back, we drove back, and I'll say we're about halfway home, back to Illinois. And it was a semi, and the truck driver, his glasses flew out the window, and it came under the car, and I tried to, you know, dodge it, but there was too many cars, and I ended up running it over. So I didn't pay no attention. A few miles down, I look on my car information display system or whatever it's called, and it said low tire pressure. I said, huh? So hold up. So we kept driving, and keep in mind it was dark. It was really dark. It was like pitch black.
So dark.
I mean, and we just drove past these mountains. So thank God that we got to a point where it was traffic and it was a bunch of lights. So, you know, that was our God. But anyways, we ended up having a flat tire. So we had to change it, you know. We went, Zyria was with her grandparents, so we was trying to get back, you know. We really wanted to see our daughter. So it's kind of stressful. It's like, man, this has had to happen. Like, you know, we was on a good time and we was on the way back and we gonna get a flat tire and it's pitch black. You know what I'm saying? It's trees everywhere. It could be all type of animals. But anyways, I had to get out and change the tire. And I was changing the tire, and keep in mind, this is a new car, so the screws like fresh. They extra tight. So I really had to put my back into it. I really had to get these things, you know what I'm saying? And I don't wanna look weak, so I had to dig up some string. But I twisted all them bolts. I got them all, except one. There was one bolt that was too hard, and I could not get it. She said, "You need help?" I said, "No, I got it." Watch out. You know what I'm saying? I got it. You know what I'm saying? I had my tank top on. It was hot outside. So I could not get it. And the next thing I know, she just reached down and she just helped me. While I was pulling it down, she put her hand on top and she pushed it, and the bolt came right off. And I was like, and at that moment, God like spoke to me like, see, this is what happened when you are unified and working together instead of individually. So ever since then, I just realized how important it is for me and her to work together instead of me trying to do things by myself or her trying to do things by herself. And I just picture that as far as our goal and our vision for the future too, that we need to be together and strengthened. And I think that's for every marriage and for everybody, that's what happens when you work together. You get things done that you can't do as an individual. So it's important to be unified. So yeah, I definitely hope you guys like the video.
Yeah.
We're definitely gonna try to be more consistent.
We will.
Let us know if there's anything you want us to touch upon. We're gonna try to make more marriage videos because our YouTube is based off being young and being married. We're gonna have pranks and stuff too, but we definitely want to touch upon the topics that need to be touched upon. You know, that's really important in our generation right now. Even older adults, you know. I think the next one might be questions. I don't know, depending on how many people ask us questions. So just comment below, subscribe, give us feedback. We thank all the supporters. If you don't support us, if you don't like us, we still love you too. You know what I'm saying? God bless everybody. We are happy. We always will be happy. And we just really blessed. And yeah, Zyria, you know what? I'm gonna give her some camera time because she keeps taking the camera. Say what's up to the people. Nah, don't act shy now. Nah. No. Say we out. Say thank you.
Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye.
Y'all hit the camera. Oh.
Say bye-bye.